Welcome back. Now we've bound the background image for our weapon in our inventory to the inventory icon background, and now we're ready to bind the actual icon for the weapon, the actual little weapon icon here. So let's add another texture to our item class. So let's go to item.h, and in our private section, we have our uTexture2D called icon background. Now we're going to create another one, and we're going to call this icon item for the item icon. And let's go ahead and give this a comment and say the icon for this item in the inventory. Let's go ahead and compile this, and then we can set it in the editor. So in the editor, I'm going to open up base weapon BP and scroll down and wait for this to compile so we can set it right here. All right, we've compiled, and now we can set the icon item. Now I'm going to select SMG icon just so we can have something here. Actually, to see something different, we can do AR icon instead. So here's the AR icon 2, and we'll just set this. Okay, so we just added a texture for icon item, and now we're ready to go ahead and create a binding in our widget blueprint. So let's go back into HUD and open our weapon slot, and we're going to select the weapon icon. And for the image, we're going to click bind and create binding. Now we have a get weapon icon brush function. Now, similar to our get background image function, we're going to check to see if our shooter character BP is valid. So let's do a is valid check. And if it's not valid, we can simply get player pawn, cast that to shooter character BP, hook that up to the is not valid, and simply set shooter character BP like that. Now we're going to create a local variable. We're going to call this return brush, just like we did in the other function. And this will be a slate brush. And we'll simply hook up return brush to the return value. Now let's create a blank brush. So we're going to add a new local variable, and I'm going to call this blank brush. It'll be a slate brush. And its default value can just be none. And this will be for when there's no item in the inventory slot. And how are we going to know if there's no item? Well, we're simply going to call the weapon in slot function that we created in a previous video. So right click, type weapon in slot, and for index and character, we're going to use our slot index and our shooter character BP. And we're going to call this weapon in slot after both the is valid and the set shooter character nodes. Okay, that looks great. So now we need to check to see if the weapon in slot returns true. So let's add a branch, hook that up, and in the false case, all we need to do is set return brush equal to blank brush. And then we can hook that up to the return node. But in the true case, there is a valid item in the slot, so we need to get that icon from our weapon. So we're going to type item icon. It's actually called icon item, and we're going to use get icon item. And then we can set the return brush. So we're going to use a setter. And from icon item, we can make a slate brush. So we're going to say make slate brush and use this value to set return item. And then we can hook this up to the return node. So that is going to create our binding function. So we can go ahead and compile, save, and go back in and we can test this. Now I'm going to test this out by changing the icon for some of these weapons. So I'm going to select this weapon and I'm going to type in inventory so we can see the inventory section. And you'll see that we have the AR icon too. I'm going to change this to SMG icon for this one. I'll leave this one at AR icon, and then this one I'll change to SMG icon. All right, so let's go ahead and save all. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And it looks like the blank icon is white, and we want that to be transparent. So first I'm going to go back into our weapon slot in our get weapon icon. And we want this to actually be blank So let's take our blank brush and let's go down to the tint property and set the alpha to 0. And that way our blank brush will have a 0 alpha and we won't be able to see it. So now when we hit play, we'll see that there is no white square there. Now let's go ahead and pick up one of these weapons with the E key, and it gets added right to the first inventory array slot. Let's pick up this one, and we'll see that it has a different icon. Let's pick up this one, and it has a different icon, and that one has a different icon. Okay, so that looks great. So now, why don't we go ahead and give each of these weapons in the world different backgrounds. So let's go ahead and click this one, and for the icon background, let's give it the uncommon background. Let's click on this one and make it legendary. And let's click this one, we'll leave that at purple, that's the rare. Let's give this one a common background, and let's give this one uncommon. And just so that we can test our swapping, let's go ahead and copy one of these, like so. And now we can go ahead and play test. And let's go ahead and pick up all these weapons. So I'll pick up this one. It's got a blue background. This one has a legendary. This one is purple. That one's green. And now we have a full inventory. So what happens when we pick up this one? Well, we swap it, and it should swap with our currently equipped weapon, but we don't have our icon updated. So that's something that we'll have to fix. So we actually swap our equipped weapon, and that is going to change our equipped weapon variable, but we don't actually change what's in the inventory. And we're going to take care of that in a future video. Don't worry, we'll be able to reflect the change in the inventory bar. But for now, as far as binding our weapon icon, we have it working. And now we can see different weapon icons that we set on each individual weapon. So that's going to conclude this video. And in the next video, we're going to bind the ammo icon, which is the icon for each individual weapon slot that shows the type of ammo that that weapon takes. So we'll go ahead and do that in the next video. So stay tuned.